There's something vastly appealing about the fantasy genre. Now, it makes for great films, books, television shows, board games, even. And there's something that's vastly appealing about it, and I'm not sure exactly what it is that makes it so romantic. Now, I get it, it's not everyone's cup of tea. There's a reason that some people chose to go to Westworld as opposed to medieval world. I, however, chose to go to medieval times on my honeymoon. I made my wife go through the torture museum because it was only $2 extra and I had bought us tickets that we were not going to waste. Oh no. Personally, I am a fan of the fantasy genre. I know that it's overcrowded. There's fantasy is a dime a dozen in just about every form and iteration. But there's something that's truly appealing about the genre. And it could be a number of things, but personally I think high on that list is the fact that social norms surrounding personal hygiene was much more lax. Did you poop? And the fact is, if you lived in that time period, there would be a beautiful maiden that would fall in love with you and would have to marry you. Not only that, she'd be incredibly wealthy. You'd get land, probably dragons, maybe a magic sword, some rings, hobbits, cheese, goats. Now, like I said, the fantasy genre is very, very popular. And so when you decide to create something that is already, that there's already a mountain of icons before it, and you decide to take your project and you place that on top of that mountain, there's a good chance that it's going to get lost in the white noise. Now, everyone always thinks that their baby is the cutest. I'm not personally one of those people. Our Alex von Volten must have agreed that his project was one of the top tier because he took that very popular fantasy genre, slapped it onto the Kingsman game, and put it up on Kickstarter. Now, this is a project that I backed. I paid money for this, and I just recently got my finished product. And I'm happy to report it's a fun game. And I want to show you a little bit on how it's played, and then I'll give you my thoughts on it afterwards. The Kingsman is the first game by Alt Mode Games, and they released this on Kickstarter. It's available now. And I'm going to just quickly show you how the game works. This is the basic setup of the game. Each player starts with 4 of these kingdom cards. It's set up like so, where you've got the event deck on one side. You flip 4 events that makes up this sort of track, and then there's the kingdom deck, which is where players draw cards from. The first player to get 8 victory points, or 8 prestige, wins the game. Now, the prestige on each of these cards is in the bottom right-hand corner, so you can see this is worth 1. The cards also have a reward value as far as coin goes, and this is the threshold of success that you need in order to claim this card. Now, you'll notice there's different types of cards here. There's assets, perils, and quests that'll pop up on this deck. On your turn, you draw 2 cards from the kingdom deck. You take 2 red knights, 1 green knight, and 1 yellow knight, and you take 1 coin. You then have a chance to dedicate some of your knights to one of the perils here. Or not peril, one of the event cards here. Now let's say I want to take a look at this quest. I see that it gives me 1 coin if I defeat it, as well as 2 victory points, and it only takes 2 successes to successfully beat it. Now, red is your 50-50 chance that you're going to get a success. There's 3 blank sides and 3 sides with these little marks that are successes. Yellow has the same amount of successes, but it also has a draw space, which lets you draw a card. Green has the most successes on it, and only 1 blank space and 2 draws and 4 successes. So what I do is I can spend a coin and I can upgrade my knight from either a red to a green, or sorry, either a red to a yellow or a yellow to a green. So I can advance him like that so that I've got a little bit better knights. For 2 coins, I can recruit a new knight, so starting with red. Or 3 coins, I can draw a card. There are different types of cards in the game that you can use. The nobleman. If I wanted to, I could play this right away and collect 3 gold. That's something that I could do. I then dedicate a certain amount of knights to one of the events. Now let's say I'm going to go for this tournament. I'm just going to put my 2 green there. Now I can save this later because I can do another attack on the same turn. So I place that on the tournament. Everyone then has a chance to play a card. Now at this point they could only play anytime cards, and the type of card is specified there at that ribbon. Or they could play intrigue cards. So if I do that, once everybody's decided to either play a card or not play a card, I would take these two and I would roll them. Now I rolled 2 successes, so this would effectively become mine. But before that happens, everyone gets a chance to play a gambit card. Now say I hadn't gotten that. Say I whiffed one of these dice. I could play this gambit card, which adds 1 success. Now other people could cancel that and make me not win it. But say that doesn't happen, everybody gets a chance to play. I win this, I take this, I then have 3 more dice, everything gets slid down, so everything is always moving towards the kingdom deck. I then have a chance to play my 3 other knights elsewhere. Now I've got a reward here, so maybe I want to advance a knight to the next level up for a coin, and I want to fight that Cyclops. Now there's these red cards, these peril cards, that are pretty interesting, and the way these work, as the deck moves closer, as the cards move closer to the kingdom deck, at the end of a turn they'll generally just get discarded, and then a new card will, slide down and make room for a new card. That's not the case with these peril cards. If these peril cards make it to the end and they're to be discarded, instead they go right on top of the kingdom deck. Now, should you ever get to a point where there's a peril on top of the kingdom deck, no one can draw cards, whether that be from dice or the beginning of your turn or a reward of some kind. And should you ever get to the point where 2 perils end up on top of the deck, everybody loses and the game's over. Play continues this way until someone has 8 points, and then the game's over and they are declared the victor, and they become the king, and they marry the princess. The Kingsman is a solid first game, and it's not even a solid first game, it's just a solid game in general. It's got that backstabbing element that you might see in something like Munchkin, but there's more to it. There's a push your luck element, as well as a strategy on when to play your cards, which type of dice to allocate when. There's a guessing aspect on what people have. There's a bluffing aspect. It mixes a lot of mechanics, and it works really well. One of the highlights for the Kickstarter campaign was they really loved the art in the game. And I'm with them for the most part. I think the art is, for the most part, fantastic. I think it misses the mark every now and then. For instance, the Maiden, to me, it kind of looks like Gary Busey's estranged aunt. Other than that, it does a good job of being consistent in the fact that the art is consistent with the game that you're playing. It's got this comic book feel to it, and you are this guy that's vying for position to become the next king. Now you control knights, you control witches, you control just a number of different cards, and you can really affect the game. But you have to know when to play your cards, and you have to guess what cards the other players have. Now, if this is your thing, you will probably really enjoy this game. And if you're in the area and you want to play, let me know. Pros: the theme works for the game. The mechanics, you don't see these mixed together all that often, and it works well. It's easy to learn, easy to teach. Cons: some of the art misses the mark. Most of it is just dead on and works well for the game, but there are a few instances that just didn't. I would say 2. The phases are named kind of funny. I mean, there's the intrigue phase and the gambit phase. It works well for the game once you get going, but initially it just serves to confuse everything. 3, the rule book is a little bit clunky, and maybe in later editions they could fix some of those, maybe add a few more examples, clarifications. Other than that, you've got a solid entry, and I think it's well worth your time. If you enjoyed this video, like it, subscribe. We're trying to get videos out every week. We can do that with your help. Suggestions, comments, would love to hear them. So thanks for watching.